Okay, I'm live and I'm Peter, VK3YE. Just thought I'd do an impromptu live Q&A, as haven't done one of these for a while. And it's about 6:25 in the morning on Saturday, the 11th of March. So a lot of you will probably be watching on the 10th of March. Good that we've got one viewer. I'll just put a note on my Facebook page. And we'll get started once you get a few more people watching. And yeah, been doing a few projects, bits and pieces, so I'll talk about them. Got quite a lot of good videos coming up. Been quite busy on that. I'll give you a sneak peek on those. And we'll just still posting on Facebook. If you want to have a look at me on my page on Facebook, it's VK3YE Radio Books. So there's a few links there that I post of interest. So yeah, just posting Facebook thing. And we've got 10 viewings. So, lots of comments there. Hello to Paul, M0PCF, and the Moosey Dude, PU2XKO. Poland, SP5RF, good to have be in Poland. Must be evening there. Yeah, Friday evening. Rails, M0, MW0SAW, Lanzarote, Salando, field day tomorrow. Good luck with that using a mag loop, and glad that I inspired you. And hello to Andy and EA8PFQ and to E0REE. 13 people already. Fantastic. I did an experiment with a end-fed half-wave wire, another vertical as a director. Is length and spacing critical? Answer would be yes. In fact, if you change the spacing, you'll change the radiation characteristics and you might not even get any gain. I'd like to do more experiments along these lines. I've been putting them off. But yeah, length, I think, of directors is probably even more important than the driven element. In Poland is 2030. Thanks for that info. Now, I'll just, behind me, there's a few bits and pieces, so I'll just have a wander behind me. Have I ever used a wire beam? Well, I did build one for 10 meters and there's a video there, but I would love to do more with wire beams. Absolutely. I've been putting it off for weeks and weeks, and I really should do something while we've got good weather here in the summer, or autumn now, but still nice warm weather. This is a bit of a fun project. There won't be a video on this for a while, but I will have a video probably in about a week. Maybe is it a week? Yeah, I think it is a week. I'll have a video on the precursor project to this. This is actually a homebrew receiver, but before I talk about that, I'll talk about this, which is what the video is on it. You might be familiar with this. It was actually another project that I've pulled to bits, but I've now built Another thing inside the box, it is a very simple converter that allows you to receive 27 and 28 megahertz signals on a regenerative receiver. So it's very topical given that we've got good conditions on the higher HF band. So yes, I am talking from the future. Thoughts on trap dipoles? Well, good luck. They are good if you can get them going. They can be a bit fiddly because there can be interactions between various lengths, but 6 and 10 and 17 meters should be fun bands to have a trap dipole on. So good luck with all those. Does my L match work with end-fed half wave? From Steve. Will do stay away from exact? Yeah, it does. It does work. Some people say you should stay away from exact half wave lengths because of high voltages, and especially if you're using antenna couplers which are limited in their frequency range. Like a lot of couplers are built into rigs, they might only be able to do a 3-to-1 SWR variation. Then an exact half wavelength would be no good for that, because if you can match up to 3-to-1, that gives you a impedance range of about 15 to 150 ohms, which is a long way from, say, the 4,000 ohms that a end-fed half wavelength might be. So, yeah, there's reasons to stay away from end-fed half wave, but if you've got a good antenna coupler, you can often still match it. But yeah, anyway, this little box here, 27 meg in, 28 meg in, and 3 meg out. So I'll have a video in about a week's time. Very, very simple, just 2 transistors, and amazing how well you receive signals on. And yeah, fine on the nano VNA. So yeah, good luck with that. That will help make building your trap dipole thing easier. And getting back to this thing's basically a receiver, a regenerative receiver. There's the regen, there's the fine tuning, and by itself it covers, you can see on the dial, from just below 3 megahertz to around 4.5. And I'll just show you the rear panel. And the thing is, it's a 2-band receiver, so it covers 3 to 4.5 megahertz as a straight regenerative receiver. If you want a sneak peek and you're in the GQRP club, then have a look at Sprat 161. There's a really nice regen receiver there, which I built, and I use that circuit in here. And then I've got a little 2-transistor converter. Regen receivers can be quite touchy, yes, but you need to build them really, really solid. You need shielding, you need a good coil. You don't want to be able to thump the table and the thing just goes unstable. And yes, there are some frequency spots. Do you have build instructions for your L match somewhere? Hello, John. Yes, my website, VK3YE.com. There's a page full of little antenna couplers galore, I think it's called. So yeah, lots of antenna couplers. Paul, do I work in the electronics industry? No. I did for a few years in electronics retail, but no. Selling bits and pieces, but no, don't work in the electronics industry. Although, unless you say that, what I do is writing books and stuff. Haven't written a book for ages, but anyway, I suppose you could say that's in the industry. But yeah. If you've just joined, I'm Peter, VK3YE, and you can ask me anything. And I am live. And yeah, I'm talking from the future. It is the 11th of March, Saturday morning, just gone 6:30 a.m. So yeah, with this receiver, the fun thing about it is I've been receiving a lot of signals on 27 and 28 megahertz. Conditions have been really good. And because you're using a converter, it's a bit more stable than if I had a regen receiver operating directly on 27 or 28 megahertz. So yeah, definitely, if you want to receive higher HF bands, with a regen receiver, having a front end converter is really recommended. Now this thing here is another regen receiver. It looks pretty awful, but I'm really pleased with its performance. If we go in a bit closer, you can see there's no circuit board. Well, there is a board that's used to mount some components, but a lot of them are just swinging in the breeze, and that works quite well. That was originally described in Sprat. Again, I mentioned issue 161. So I thought I'd build something a bit more properly, but so far I'm not happy with its performance. In a nice die-cast box, and some of the components are floating, but others are on short leads, and this would be all shielded. There's plug-in coil assemblies at the top, and then the audio amplifier. So then, of course, there's the nice variable capacitor and the box. So in theory, this is better constructed, but I haven't had as good a results. Peter VK3 ZPF. Hello. Are you a member of a local radio club? I probably should be. Like, there is one only about 3 kilometers from here. But yeah, no, I'm not. I don't know. Maybe it's something I've been thinking of. It's something I've just been putting off. But yeah, I've just been so many projects here that and portable operating that. That's been taking up my time more, and of course producing videos can take lots and lots of time. Now, Ukraine, Alexander, UZ7IO. The AM transceiver, the small one where you listen to the morning air on the shore. I think you probably mean the CCOM 40B, and that's a commercially made transceiver. It covers the marine band frequencies around 2 megahertz and a superhet receiver. So it's single conversion superhet, made in Australia. It probably puts out about 10 watts, all solid state. It crystal controlled transmitter. It did have a crystal controlled receiver, but I ripped that out and put in a variable capacitor and a coil. So I'm frequency agile. I can tune about a 50 or 60 kilohertz range of the 160 meter band. So that's a little bit about the AM transceiver that I sometimes use on 160 meters. Now, John West helped build a tube regen receiver. It received stations, but when you tuned up the regen, it squealed. I thought I'd done something wrong. Yeah, sometimes when you advance the regen control, it can, it can squeal, but you want to set it up so that maybe you're overcoupling the. You need to move the tap. Some regen receivers have little taps on the coils that go to the cathode or the source, and you need to move that up and down the coil. Other types have a feedback winding that you might need to add or subtract turns. There's some component values possibly you might need to change. So yeah, sometimes it can be a bit tricky. Now, do I have? I'll just, talking about regens, I'll just have a, as it's still dark outside, we might have a tune around on one. Now, this Now, this is a regen receiver. I've described it in a previous video. All 12-volt operated, but it does have a valve. Now, do I have a speaker for it anywhere? Yeah, there it is. All right. Now, I've got to find a battery. All right. I've got a sealed lead acid battery just in here. Now, I've got to find cable. Okay, it's just there. And antenna. Got an antenna here. So, oh, what's this? Oh, this, by the way, is a wrong way. That's the front. A 13 transistor transceiver. It covers 7 megahertz, but it's only for FT8. It's crystal controlled. Anyway, if you haven't watched it, this is actually a kit you can buy. I think it's $59 US from CR Kit. So I've done a review video. So if you're into FT8, want something little to plug into the laptop, then something like this could be handy. Anyway, we'll get back to the regen receiver. Right, we need, okay, plug in the speaker. Antenna. And this uses a 12AU7. So one valve, and the great thing about it is the high tension and the is 12 volts as well. So there's no DC to DC converter. And being a valve that starts with a 12 number, it's the filament can be wide, so it takes 12 volts. So there's no voltage conversion. All right, we'll plug this in, and here we go. Yes, yeah.
What do you need for a cracking party or events? Great people, tasty food, cold drinks.
Just put the speaker near the
short or long-term rental, all travelers come all set up, and delivery to site is included across West Gippy. And
if you've just watched, I'm Peter, VK3YE, and you can ask me anything. But right now, we're just tuning this homebrew one valve regenerative receiver. I'll just bring the computer closer to it.
Walk out. Gippsland Tigers Masters football training happens every Tuesday night between 6:30 and 7. It's a great way to have a few laughs and have some exercise. And
oh, look at this.
If you want them,
when I touch it, the signal improves.
Dining Gippsland, it's on the Gippsland guide. 3GG.com.au.
Now, here's the regen. Notice how the tone changes. Now it's not oscillating there. So that's a country station, maybe about 1 kilometre away. Diamond CPT antenna. Sorry, no idea what it is. But yeah, generally speaking, if you can build your own antennas, you'll save money and they'll be cheaper. Okay, just tuning this regen receiver. Okay, with your FT817, Steve, Christian, looks like it's given many years of service. Now they're discontinued. What would you buy if you had to replace it? Probably a second-hand FT818. There are, other more modern rigs, but I just like there's Ellicraft and other things. But I don't think anything's more rugged than the FT818. So I'd probably look for a second-hand one, even though it is discontinued. There are some really cheaper rigs that you can get, like the True SDX, but I just don't think their performance. I had listened to one, and the receiver quality, it was very hissy, and I'm not sure how good the filtering was. So I would rather something with a better performance than that for portable operating. That might be okay for some people. Now, let's have a tune around, see if we can hear some weaker stations, because just looking outside, it's still dark. We're still on summertime, but when that finishes in a couple of weeks, there'll be a short time where it will be quite early in the morning and light again. Now, it's probably hard to hear here, but I'm just zero beating. These are very weak stations. Now, this isn't very selective there, but when we have the thing oscillating, it becomes a bit more selective.
Just the last decade or a couple of decades, how have the priorities in the Farm Bill been changing? Is it fair to assume that the kind of direct
one of our local
subsidies
stations
have started to become less of a...
I really like the audio from this thing.
Well, if you measured it simply by spending, certainly they are down the list of the major spending items. Politically, though, the farm subsidy, the farm interest groups that get involved with and are interested in the subsidy programs remain
There's a weaker station.
You were about to say something else, Jim?
Yeah, listen, I was going to say I've got this plant in the backyard. It's got these beautiful purple flowers on and everything.
Christian from the Home Brewer. Can we make CW ladder filters with 455 kilohertz ceramic resonators? Never done it, but possibly. I'm not sure if they would be as sharp as crystals. But I found that, ladder filters themselves, if you find crystals around 3, 4, 5 megahertz, they're good frequencies to use. They're a good frequency to use as an intermediate frequency for an HF receiver because less problems with images than with 455.
Support the local farmers and promote CWA bakers, but to include the whole community.
Pineapple lovers, eat your heart out with everything from pineapple cakes to chutney to fritters. We'll hear about what's cooking as part of that drive to use up a glut of excess fruit. But first today, flooding has impacted large parts of western New South Wales and along the Darwin.
Might be an interstate station there.
But the water has also had
You have to reinvent yourself. And there's a part of you that dies while the new you is being rebirthed. So, and some of these stories are told in our book, Undefeated. And why did you choose? It's how I feel when I think of my sister. It kills me how much I miss her.
Now, question from Selbel Adelez is, normally I struggle with receive weak DX signals. My question, better receive vertical dipole or horizontal dipole, considering both antennas in similar circumstances? Well, bit difficult because some people find that vertical antennas pick up more noise, but they may, horizontal dipoles might be a bit quieter. Horizontal dipoles can be directive, but only if they are more than, say, half wavelength up. If they're very low, then they'll be pretty close to omnidirectional. Vertical antennas can be better for signals arriving at low angles, like long distance, but ideally you want to mount them up in the clear, elevated radials if you can, and away from all noise signals. So really, really hard to say which is best. Best thing is to experiment with both, put them both up and both down. But note that if you have them trying them on different days, conditions can vary a lot. So it's hard to say which one is better than the other unless you try it consistently for a long time. Now here, we've got the thing lightly oscillating. And there's stations like every 9 kilohertz. Not all of them can be
draw really enables Rocky and Sierra to get into a more prominent spot. I think she's one at big odds that's worth including into your trifectas and
later this year, and really smart hauling over calamari as recreational people. We have great concern.
In case you can't see the dial pointer, it's there. I've started there. I've been covering the lower end of the broadcast band.
Paper reports that the Australian Charities and Not-for-Profits Commission, the AP, issued a rare public statement on Friday afternoon to announce it was probing the claims raised by Wilkie and the whistleblower.
Okay, from John West talking about the true USDX, less than $100 US. Yeah, most radio for the dollar. Is it? Well, you've got a bit of competition there because you also have it's a bit bigger, but you've also got the microbit X. So this is, a conventional transceiver with a crystal filter, and the performance drops off a bit on higher HF bands like 10 meters, but for lower bands, especially 80, 40, 20, this can be quite good. I should actually take this out more and operate portable. But yeah, in terms of, it does require a bit of setting up. I've done videos on it. I've had to modify the microphone amplifier for better performance. It comes as a short form kit, so you need to find a box. There's some alignment and assembly you need to do, not the board itself, but the other controls. So Yeah, in terms of bang for the buck, this one does present some competition, although it is a bit bigger. So yeah, that's a possibility. It's designed by Ashar Farhan, VU2 ESE, and that's another possibility if you're after a really simple HF rig. Not for the super beginner though, as there is some assembly and work. So if you are starting out in radio with this, then it's probably better if you've got someone to help you or something do the final adjustments, as there's various adjustments in the menu that you can do. Anyway, that's the Micro Bit X. Now, getting back to this regen receiver, if you've just joined, I'm Peter, VK3YE, and also AK3YE is my American call, and you can ask me anything.
Are gearing up for the Dolphins' first NRL game at Redcliffe. Brittany Klein has more.
The first thing the Dolphins did when they joined the NRL was drop
Now I've got the thing oscillating, which is sometimes good if you're receiving weak signals on a regen. For receiving only, can you use a random wire and a ground tuning unit to tune radials? You probably don't even need the ground tuning unit or radios. You could use an antenna coupler. If your receiver is not particularly sensitive, you could use an antenna coupler to peak things. If you've got extraneous interference from stations, maybe front-end overload, then a selective type of antenna coupler could be handy. One with a parallel tuned circuit, you might tap the wire and antenna and radio on various parts of the coil. Now it's getting a little bit light outside, but we're going now above 1 megahertz, which gives you is a bit better for longer distance stations. And we're getting more stations in this part of the band.
.com. Casino Go for the bigger bucks. Gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-858.
Now that's the same as we had before, but a bit stronger. So it must be some network. If you've just joined, I'm Peter, VK3YE, and you can ask me anything, just type in the comments.
Featured game is Leeds against Brighton, with the goals as they go in from all the matches. On Sport Today.
And right now we're just tuning the AM broadcast band, where it's early morning, a little bit light, but around 7 o'clock in the morning. And we're still hearing some of the longer distance stations.
Giving you outstanding value for your money.
And yeah, Lars Preg, True SDX is nice, but not really good. Yeah, that's probably a good summary.
Everybody's going to buy Hoyts. Everyone's going to save $1 or $2. Everybody's going to buy Hoyts spices, yeah.
Hoyt's most popular household herbs and spices.
If you've got a non-for-profit simply go to 3mp.com.au/community. Thanks to Regenerative.
And okay, well, 17 people watching, and I am live if you've just turned on. I should mention that few people ask me questions on YouTube in comments or whatever on videos, and a lot of the cases, not all, but a lot of the cases, there's more information on my website, VK3YE.com. So, yeah, I think a lot of people watch my videos. They don't necessarily know about my website. So check that out, VK3YE.com. There's sections for beginners and antennas and QRP, that sort of stuff. Now, must be, yeah, it is 7 o'clock. We're hearing all these news bulletins.
To help operate nuclear-powered submarines.
You notice my camera is old. Any new books on the way? I should be, but haven't been doing none immediately. Notice the camera is old, quite interesting image settings. Yeah. It should still be HD though. In fact, I'll show you the camera.
Australia will receive up to 5 subs over the next decade. A man will appear in court charged with assaulting 2 police officers in Sydney CBD.
Yeah, this is the camera that I use. Canon FS21.
The UN's Weather and Climate Monitoring Agency says Cyclone Freddie is on course to set a new
So yeah, that's the camera that I use. I've used it for quite a long time. In fact, the first one I had broke, and I think just died out of overuse because I had been working it hard, and the environment that I subject to on the beach is not the most friendly for electronic equipment, but it gave good service. It was actually given to me by Peter, VK2 TPM, now VK3 TPM. Anyway, I looked at possibilities when I wanted to, when it broke, I wanted to look at new ones or other ones. And then this one came up secondhand, and I thought, well, I was familiar with it. I was happy with it. So I just got this one as a exactly the same model as I had. So, yeah, that's what I use when I'm out and about. What has greater losses? A coupler with 22 meters of wire or a tuned 40 meter end-fed half wavelength of wire with a 49:1 unun? Well, they're different antennas, 40 meters versus 22 meters long. Personally, I would use a coupler. I like the satisfaction of getting it adjusted exactly spot on. When you can vary your inductance and capacitance, and you get multiple bands. A tuned 40 meter end-fed half wave length. Well, 40 meter length is if you're operating on 80 meters, 3.5 megahertz, then a 40 meter length is half wavelength, and that will be much better than 22 meters, which is barely a quarter wavelength. But yeah, 49:1 unun. Yeah, I normally use an antenna coupler and optimize it. DC short circuit. Is the antenna a DC short circuit? Lower noise in receive. Interesting question. something like maybe it might be a little bit noisy for stuff like rain static, which we don't often get here, but I'm not normally operating during the rain anyway. Like some people say that clues to loop antennas, like quad loops, are lower noise. But the maybe it would be a little bit lower noise. But yeah, interesting to experiment with that. Now, 40 meter band, well, a 40 meter end-fed half wave would be a full wavelength. So, especially if it's at a reasonable height, might be a bit directive. Now, what's the radio saying? Now we're almost at the top of the AM broadcast band. Now, there we're actually in 160 meter territory. Not hearing anything on 160 meters. Now we'll go up a band. Can't remember what frequencies this covers, but we'll. Oh, there's an oscillating regen there. Oh, here. Sometimes you get this in regens. They can be quite contiguous. Turn the volume up to the top and it oscillates. There's a bit of interaction there. Was it a truck or a train? Yeah. As it's not much of a receiver, we'll see if we Now, on this band, it's not doing anything, but this other band here, it's doing a bit more up here. Oh, look, we've got some shortwave stations coming through, I think. Don't remember what frequency this is. Now it's sounding more like a receiver. Oh, it's an SSB here. Now notice here when I touched it, it stopped oscillating. If you've just joined, I'm Peter, VK3YE, and you can ask me anything. And we're just trying a regenerative receiver that I've described. It's actually one valve, but it's operating off 12 volts, including for the high tension. There's another band up here. Now, I should mention that half my antenna's fallen down, so yeah, not as good as antenna as I normally have. But it's getting various shortwave broadcast bands.
13対4で韓国に勝ち、1次ラウンド2連勝としました。1番センターで先発し、ヒット2本1打点、好守備も見せ勝利に貢献した。ヒーローインタビューで最高の気分。見てたことも。
Well, that's amazing. This is any new finds from the skip or the curbside? Well, they've actually changed the way that the curbside's done. So instead of it being 1 day a year, you now have to phone the council up and everyone gets 2 free collections a year. So, yeah, they've got rid of the annual hard rubbish. So unless you're very lucky, there's not going to be any more hard rubbish finds. So yeah, so probably no more videos for that. And hello to Tajed. Okay, well, that's probably about it for this. We'll turn that off and put that back. And yeah, every now and then I like getting hello to Walt K4OGO, and yeah, hope the weather is getting better for you, as it will be getting colder from us from now on. Though we've got the Beru contest, CW only contest for the British Commonwealth, so I might give that a go. Though sometimes with contests, I have the intentions of going out and operating, and then I get sidetracked. So I then do something else instead. So you never know. Depends. Anyway, 13 people watching. All right, we have been going for must be about an hour or so, maybe a bit less. If there are no more questions, I'll haven't had breakfast yet, so I might do that. So if you've just turned on, you've got just one last chance to ask any questions or whatever, and then we might call it a day. Doesn't look like there's anything. So thanks all for watching, and see you next time. And there'll be lots and lots of videos in the next few weeks. About 2 videos, should be about 2 videos a week for the next little while. So keep watching, and also check out my books. Again, VK3YE.com. 8 titles for beginners to amateur radio. QRP antennas and QRP operating, all that sort of stuff. So that's at VK3YE.com. So thanks for watching and have a good day.